Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Canada Immigration. We hope you're doing great. In this video, we will talk about Canada tightens immigration rules to fight job offer fraud, Impact Decoded. Canada's immigration system is undergoing significant changes, as announced by Immigration Minister Mark Miller. With a focus on combating fraud and enhancing border management, the new regulations will affect various aspects of the immigration process, particularly for individuals attempting illegal entry or seeking to exploit loopholes in temporary residency rules. These changes are expected to have a considerable impact on candidates from countries like India, as well as those in high-demand fields such as STEM and healthcare. The overhaul includes the removal of LMIA-backed job offer points, stricter border control measures, and the elimination of practices like flag polling, all aimed at ensuring fairness and security in Canada's immigration system. If you are interested in this topic, watch the video to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. So, without any further delay, let's jump into the video. Canada's Immigration Minister, Mark Miller, announced a series of changes to the country's immigration system on Wednesday, with a focus on tackling fraud and improving border management. The new measures are expected to affect individuals, including those from India, attempting to enter Canada or the US illegally, as well as temporary residents who leave the country and immediately re-enter to renew their status. Removal of LMIA-supported job offers. Among the changes is the removal of additional points in the Express Entry program for candidates with Labour Market Impact Assessment-supported job offers. LMIA is a report issued by Employment and Social Development Canada confirming that a Canadian employer is allowed to hire a foreign worker because no Canadian citizen or permanent resident is available for the job. The employer's approval to hire an international worker is crucial for securing a valid LMIA. This assessment grants applicants extra points in the comprehensive ranking system, which is used to assess candidates for Express Entry. However, the practice of buying fake LMIAs to improve CRS rankings raised concerns. Earlier, candidates with a CRS score of around 470, 480, or 500, where the cutoff for invitations could be as high as 540, 550, or 560, were purchasing fake LMIA job offers for large sums of money, between $30,000 and $50,000. This would raise their points and improve their chances of receiving an invitation to apply, said Ajay Sharma, an immigration expert. He added that by removing the additional 50 points given for LMIA job offers, those who relied on this method would see their CRS scores drop, making the process fairer for all applicants. Importantly, while the points boost for LMIA job offers is being removed, candidates in specific fields, such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or healthcare, may still have an advantage in the CRS pool due to their high-demand skills. For those outside of Canada without a job offer, the change could open up more opportunities, as the CRS cutoff is expected to drop to between 450 and 500 in the next 6 months, making it easier for ordinary candidates to be invited to apply, Sharma said. Flag polling to be eliminated. In addition, Canada's government announced plans to eliminate flagpole, a practice where temporary residents leave the country and immediately re-enter to renew their status. Flag polling uses resources at the border and creates unnecessary delays, said Minister Miller. Flag polling has been a way for people to quickly change their status, such as renewing a work or study permit, without fully going through the proper channels. This is inefficient and causes unnecessary congestion at border points, said he. New border control measures. Alongside these changes, Canada also released a $1.3 billion border plan aimed at reducing border congestion and enhancing security. This plan comes amid growing U.S. pressure for stronger border controls, following concerns over migration and drug trafficking. As part of the plan, Canada will gain new powers to cancel, suspend, or amend immigration documents when necessary. These powers are intended to help prevent individuals who may pose a security risk from entering the country. The Canadian government also plans to introduce measures that will impose restrictions on countries that do not cooperate in returning their citizens in cases of fraudulent entry. Canada is committed to protecting its immigration system and ensuring that it is both efficient and secure, said Dominic LeBlanc, Minister of Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs. Illegal immigration. The rise in illegal immigration, particularly among Indian nationals, has been a growing concern. Data from U.S. Customs and Border Protection shows that Indian nationals now account for 22% of all encounters at the northern U.S.-Canada border. In the 2023 financial year, 43,764 Indian nationals attempted to cross illegally into the U.S., a sharp increase from previous years. Many of these individuals are driven by the vast economic disparities between Canada, the US, and India, said Russell A. Stamets, a partner at Circle of Councils. For some, the journey is about seeking a better life and improving their economic prospects. Remember this, the lowest per capita income in the US is $48,110, in the state of Mississippi. The net national income for India is about 2.4% of that, about $1,161, and Bihar has the lowest per capita income, about $708, or around 1.5% of the poorest state in the US. There will always be people looking to better their life situation, he said. Safe Third Country Agreement remains. Canada's Safe Third Country Agreement with the US remains in effect. This agreement requires asylum seekers to claim protection in the first country they enter, either Canada or the US. Those who do not meet specific exemptions will be returned to the first safe country they entered. We must preserve the integrity of our immigration system, said Minister Miller. Canada continues to offer protection to the world's most vulnerable while maintaining a secure and fair immigration process. Canada introduces a new permanent residency program for foreign workers. Canada has released eligibility requirements for the Francophone Community Immigration Class, a new permanent residency option. On December 14, Canada released the eligibility criteria for a new permanent residency pathway known as the Francophone Community Immigration Class in the Official Gazette. Foreign nationals can apply for permanent residence as members of the Francophone Community Immigration Class. The Francophone Community Immigration Class is an economic class for foreign nationals wishing to establish themselves in a designated community outside Quebec, meeting specific requirements. A designated community in Canada has a Francophone minority population within its boundaries, and they are eligible for the Francophone Community Immigration Class. The applicant must demonstrate that they have the work experience for a genuine offer of employment in tier category 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The work experience must have been acquired over a continuous period of at least 1 year of full-time work, or the equivalent in part-time work in an occupation listed in the National Occupational Classification. The work experience requirement does not apply to an applicant who obtained an eligible credential from a post-secondary program and the applicant was enrolled as a full-time student during the entire period of the program. An applicant who applies for permanent residence under the Francophone Community Immigration Class from within Canada must have a valid temporary residence status at the time of their application and must maintain a valid temporary resident status until permanent resident status is granted. The designated employer means an employer designated as eligible to participate in the Francophone Community Immigration Class by an economic development organization. Overheated immigration system needed discipline and fusion, Minister. An overheated immigration system that admitted record numbers of newcomers to the country has harmed Canada's decades-old consensus on the benefits of immigration, Immigration Minister Mark Miller said, as he reflected on the changes in his department in a year-end interview. The system, he said, needed some discipline to get the country back on track. Throughout 2024, Miller moved to cap the number of student visas, reduce the number of permanent residents it plans to admit, made it harder to get a working visa, and paused most private refugee sponsorship applications. All of that came as record immigration levels pushed population growth up over 3% in 2023, twice what it had averaged over the previous decade. There's no shying away from the fact that there's some stuff that we think we could have gotten better. We think there's a lot of good that has happened as well, Miller said. This interview took place on December 11th, before Chrystia Freeland's resignation as Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister upended Canadian politics. Miller, who was named Immigration Minister in July 2023, kept the role in a shuffle Friday. Miller said the souring of public opinion on immigration is rooted in a number of factors, including high rates of asylum seekers, the high cost of housing, and political movements in the Western world. This climate created the challenge for Miller over the last year, to infuse some discipline into the immigration system. With an aging population and birth rates below replacement levels, Miller said that immigration is essential to ensure a strong labor force to help pay for key programs like health care. We still need immigration, but we do have to be able to say to Canadians that we've been listening to them and react accordingly when we see that things get overheated, Miller said. In the minister's eyes, this includes bringing in more economic immigrants to bring down the average working age of Canada's population. The increase in the number of temporary workers is among the biggest issues that have emerged since the pandemic. Initially, the goal was to use the program to fill holes in the labor market, but the program grew so quickly that it opened the door to fraud and exploitation of workers. The government recently moved to make it harder for an employer to have a permit approved, and low-wage applications will be refused in geographic regions where unemployment is above 6%. labor market impact assessments, and necessary paperwork to help bring in a worker from overseas, also are worth a valuable 50 to 200 points in Canada's points-based express entry system for permanent residents. CBC recently published an investigation that uncovered those assessments being sold, sometimes for tens of thousands of dollars. It's being gamed, and we think recognizing that there's fraud that comes under different forms. We have a particular role in making sure that people aren't leveraging that to get, for example, permanent residency, Miller said. On December 19, Miller announced those points would be removed from labor market impact assessments as part of a suite of measures tied to increasing border control in response to President-elect Donald Trump's tariff threat on Canadian products. That change includes having temporary residents exclusively apply online to extend their stay, in an effort to end a practice known as flag polling. This is when someone crosses the U.S. border from Canada, only to turn around and go back to the border for quicker processing of the application at a port of entry. The government will also introduce legislative amendments to allow them to suspend or cancel immigration documents, including visas when deemed to be in the public interest. Miller used mass fraud as an example. Trump is threatening both Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs on all American imports from those two countries, unless they increase border security to stem illegal crossings and drug trafficking. We find the rhetoric that we've heard in the U.S. to be unfortunate. It's not one that we will ever espouse. But also, we need an immigration system that doesn't look like it's being abused by folks trying to game the system, Miller said. And we think that is something that we are seeing increasingly with false asylum claims, sometimes from certain countries. Roughly 250,000 asylum claims are waiting for processing by the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada. The highest number of claims in 2024 came from India, followed by Mexico. Miller said he is looking at introducing further asylum reforms in the next month to streamline the system and deal more quickly with illegitimate claims. But bringing in further reforms on a sensitive area amid a heated discussion on border politics may be easier said than done. For Miller, it's about trying to strike a realistic balance between commitments under humanitarian laws and what Canada can handle. What we can't do is fall victim to our base instincts. We need to rise above and look at this in a way that is rational, that looks at these people as human beings, without being naive about the ability of the Canadian government, the ability of Canada to absorb the numbers of folks that come in here, Miller said. This report by the Canadian press was first published December 21, 2024, Canada Express Entry System Overhaul. This is how new rules can act against Indian engineers and STEM professionals. Canada Express Entry System Overhaul. This is how new rules can act against Indian engineers and STEM professionals. Canada has announced significant changes to its express entry immigration system, impacting workers seeking permanent residency, particularly Indian engineers, technicians, and IT professionals. The recently revised rules concerning the comprehensive ranking system will alter how candidates are assessed, ACO. Canada's Immigration Minister, Mark Miller, announced these changes aimed at preventing fraud and enhancing border management. These changes will impact people, particularly those from India, who are trying to enter Canada or the US illegally. They will also affect temporary residents who leave Canada and then return right away to extend their stay. Under the new regulations, IT workers who apply for Canadian permanent residency will no longer receive additional CRS points for having job offers supported by a labor market impact assessment. UNLMIA is a document that allows Canadian employers to legally hire foreign workers when they cannot find a suitable Canadian candidate. Previously, candidates with LMIA-backed job offers enjoyed a substantial advantage, receiving an additional 50 to 200 points on their CRS score based on the specifics of the offer. This boost often played a crucial role in securing an invitation to apply for permanent residency. Without these extra points, many candidates may face increased competition, as they will now be evaluated solely based on other criteria like age, education, and language proficiency. Other key changes are: 1. Ban on flag polling. Temporary residents in Canada are no longer allowed to leave the country briefly and then re-enter at a border crossing to update or change their immigration status. This practice, known as flagpole, is prohibited. 2. Authority to cancel or amend immigration documents. Immigration authorities now have the power to cancel or change immigration documents if they believe it serves the public interest, particularly in situations involving fraud. To anyone considering entering Canada illegally, as we head into the coldest months of the winter, we want to make it clear that trying to cross into Canada between our official ports of entry is dangerous, Miller said. The timing for when these changes will take effect remains uncertain. This announcement follows a recent adjustment to Canada's immigration policies made by the Trudeau government, which included a reduction in the number of permanent and temporary residents allowed entry over the next 3 years. These policy shifts are part of a broader strategy to tackle ongoing challenges in housing, healthcare, and infrastructure across the country. The new immigration measures introduced by Canada reflect a commitment to maintaining a secure, efficient, and fair system, addressing both growing concerns over fraud and the pressures from rising illegal immigration. While these changes will have significant implications for candidates, particularly those from India, they also open new opportunities for applicants with in-demand skills. As Canada continues to adjust its immigration policies to align with economic needs and public concerns, the focus remains on protecting the integrity of its system while offering pathways for legitimate and deserving candidates. That is all for today. In this video, what are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.